Love Circle. I'm so glad that you all are here. I hope everybody had an awesome day. I hope that you brought love, light, and positivity in your life and into somebody else's life. I hope you did something dope today. I hope you went outside and got some vitamin D, enjoyed the light, enjoyed nature, found peace in something, found love in something. I just hope that today was just a good day for a lot of people. In this circle, we have a strong and positive attitude that allows us to encourage, promote, and create new beginnings.
In this circle, we have a strong and positive attitude that allows us to encourage, promote, and create new beginnings.
Yes. So, this episode is going to be about healing, healing thyself, health, loving on yourself, the importance of loving on yourself, and having people around you that love on you. So we have Queen Poe here today, and I'm just excited for this conversation. So how has when did your healing process start? Like, when did you realize, like, yeah, I need to do some real healing?
Oh, wow. My healing process started, I was in college, probably about the age of 21. My year of 21 was something else, okay? Something else. At that time, I had been, I was in college, but I was still very much, involved in the street. So I was hustling and doing different stuff, to get money. And one of the things I was doing, I was selling weed, I was boosting. And I remember looking at my closet, and my closet was filled with stuff. And I couldn't even close it. And I remember I was laying in the dark, and I could just see the silhouette of all the stuff coming out my closet. And I heard a voice clear as day say, "You're going to have to pay for this." And that night, I was like, I'm going to stop. I'm going to change my life. I'm going to really focus, and I'm going to start doing the right thing, what I know is right, and follow my spirit. And that was the day that I decided to really start my healing journey. The next day, halfway in, halfway out, the next day, I went to go hit my last lick and ended up getting locked up.
Wow.
And sitting in the jail cell was like, that was the moment for me.
Yeah.
Sitting in that jail cell was the moment of like, yeah, no, we're going to really do this for real.
Right.
Stop playing and do the work,
yeah,
to be better.
So why do you think your surroundings is the reason why you chose that path, or was it something personally that you were dealing with?
Well, for me, growing up, my mother, she had a mental disability. She also struggled a lot, financially because of different reasons and stuff like that, and, we didn't have a father and stuff like that. And we moved around a lot. I was on my own at a very young age, you know what I'm saying? Especially like being financially responsible for myself at a very young age. So from the time that I was 12 years old, I started hustling and boosting. My brother, he was doing his own thing when I was even younger than that, so it was always about just finding ways to be able to get money to survive. So growing up with, in a family where you have to survive and you are on your own, if you don't put food on the table, you ain't gonna eat, you know what I'm saying? So that is what really contributed to it a lot, and that's just how I survived and how I handled life. And even when I made it to college, I had to pay for college. I had to survive through college, and I was working a regular job. I don't want people to think that, oh, well, you could have got a job. I had a job, and I was going to school and doing an internship. And I still was paying to live on campus, paying for my meal plan, paying tuition. And that's a lot of money, and I just was doing what I felt like I had to do to survive, and also what I knew. I grew up around people who was in the dope game. I grew up around boosters. So it's what I knew, and I just went to what I knew. Yeah.
So for me, I think chapter 25 did it for me.
Wow.
Like, I just felt like it was just so much stuff going on. So much stuff, like relationship stuff, stuff with my dad, stuff with my family. My mom wasn't here anymore because she had just passed. It was just so much stuff. And I had been in college for 6 years at that time. It took me forever to graduate. And then I realized the reason why it took me forever is because I had a lot of growing that I needed to do within those 6 years in order for me to realize chapter 25 was the moment, that aha moment, you need to wake up or you're going to continue down this path. Like I started realizing it was a lot of stuff that I was repeating cycles. I'm like, why am I constantly repeating this same? Every person that I'm talking to is always a constant cycle, like never changing. I'm like, okay, so if it's a different person, but it's still the same situation, it gotta be
and
me.
It might be, right.
It gotta be me.
That's introspection. That's good introspection.
So what about me attracts this person to me? Or what about me attracts me to this person or this situation or this circumstance? Like you talk a lot about people being married to their trauma. And I was married to my trauma. Like I was okay with constantly having to tell my story over and over again because that was refueling me. I was okay with people kind of not necessarily okay with the pity party, but it was like I was so used to stuff always going on. So I always needed stuff. Like, so it was like, okay. That's when be a part of your own rescue came into play because I was like, okay, nobody else is going to save you. You have people that are going to protect you and love you and support you. But ultimately, you have to be strong enough to pull yourself out of your own mess. You have to be strong enough to say, okay, this is no longer serving me. I need to figure out, life keeps changing and I'm staying the same. I have to figure out what I need to do to go along with life.
Absolutely.
So I think chapter 25 did it for me. Girl,
first off, I commend you. I commend you for being introspective in that way, because in that situation, a lot of people will point the finger.
Right.
You know, a lot of people will look at other folks and they'll say, well, this person is the problem and that person is the problem. But the fact that you were able to recognize that there was a pattern in the people that you were attracted and identified that, you know what, maybe I need to go on my own healing journey. And then recognizing that you were married to your trauma and then you were willing to divorce your trauma. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't need you no more. I don't want you. What Katherine Jackson said in American Dream when she, I don't want you, I don't want you, I don't want you no more. You know, like, recognizing that I don't want your ass no more and be willing to release that. So I commend you for that, girl, because that ain't easy, you know?
It's not. It's really not. And I think the common misconception of growth or healing is that it's something that, oh, you identify the situation and it's done. No, it's not, because it always comes back up. It's a different way sometimes, but it always resurfaces just to see, have you really let this thing go? Are you sure? Yeah. Especially that anger. That anger is the one, girl.
The universal texture. The universal texture, just to see if you really are who you say you are. For real, the universe will test you. I always make references. It's like aha moments for me, stuff that I learned from. Black Panther movie. Yeah. Where Angela Bassett was talking to T'Challa and she said, show them who you are. I feel like that's the universe telling us, like, show them who you are. You said that you worked on your anger and you better show me. I'm going to put this person in your face who's going to disrespect you, cross your boundaries. Show me that you better, you know?
Okay, you can say it, but let me see. I know. Let me see.
Absolutely. So for you at 25, where did you start?
So Jackie, she was on the first few episodes. She started working at Savannah State as the choir director. And that was like right at the peak of like my emotional, it was a whole bunch of stuff going on with me emotionally. And I didn't really know how to deal with it because my mother and I, we really didn't have we had a good relationship up until the point where she passed, like a couple of years before she passed. My dad and I, we didn't really have a relationship at all until I got to college. So I didn't really know or don't really know how to. I'm big on communication, but I don't really know how to express my emotions without the intent of hurting somebody else, or without like just caring about my feelings. So when Jackie came to Savannah State, she was like this just light of positive energy, and she always was uplifting. Like concert choir became this whole family. Like we started spending more time together, going places together, doing stuff together, and it was just this more tight-knit family, something that I wasn't used to. So that changed my perspective about how I looked at people, because I always thought that I couldn't really trust anybody because it's always just been my sisters, my grandparents, and my mom. My stepdad was there, but he was in and out of jail. So it wasn't really, we didn't really have a male figure but our granddad, but we were so close that we only knew us. Our family didn't really talk like that. Even to this day, on both sides of my family, we don't talk like that. So once concert choir opened up that door for me to see, hey, this is what love is. This is what love feels like. This is what it feels like to be protected. I was able to let go of everything.
Oh, wow.
Those walls were able to break down. Like, it, girl, Savannah State was an awesome experience. It really was.
The interesting thing is, I was talking to Imani yesterday about experiencing true love and how healing that could be. Like the fact that you experienced true love, true family, and that was the spark that you needed to know that, you know what, there is some trauma in me from never having experienced this before. And you were willing to do the work to go back and handle that.
Yeah.
That just speaks to the power of the healing power of true love, you know?
Yeah.
Wow.
Definitely. Like I tell people all the time, love heals everything. Like once you realize that certain things aren't worth your energy anymore, it's okay to be positive and invest in the things that invest back into you. That love, that positivity, that motivation. It's just, I don't know, girl, because I feel like I'm rambling. I'm so happy.
No, I'm like, I think it's good. I think it's good. I think a lot of people need to hear that, you know, because even for myself, like me and Imani was having a conversation yesterday, and we were just talking about, like, you know, identifying what is true love in friendships, in a partner, in family. What is really true love? And I wish she was here to explain it. And I actually, I think I'm gonna go ahead and break down and pay for the Zoom subscription so that I can be able to go live on my YouTube, because I want to have all of y'all on and really discuss this, because the sister brought up a powerful point, and she identified love as when you need to be rescued, who comes through for you? Who comes through for you? When you need to be rescued, who comes through for you? And needing to be rescued doesn't always have to look like having a breakdown. It can look like grieving the loss of a parent or a family member. It can look like having financial issues. It can look like just needing somebody to vent to and talk to. That's all like scenarios of being rescued. But you know true love when you have been rescued before. You know what I'm saying? And that's only one way to be able to identify it. And in a sense, that's what, you know, you experienced at Savannah State, you know, with the idea of you were rescued by that family. That moment that you felt alone, that time, that those years of feeling alone, those years of feeling like you never experienced true family, that one moment where you have this choir, you have this teacher, you have this family, they rescued you and showed you this is what it feels like to be held on to and to be valued in love. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's dope.
And I think it's also important to have people around you, especially when you're the strong friend. It's important to have people around you that hear your cries when you're not crying. It's very important, because so many times you go around and people just assume because you're the strong one, you're okay. That you don't go through stuff. You're always helping people, but you're okay. And that's not always true. Be the main one. That's why it's important. I was watching, me and my husband was watching your podcast, your YouTube. And you were talking about
you say that, me and my husband.
the hubby and I.
Okay, go ahead.
So we were watching your YouTube, and you were talking about not feeding people or filling people from your cup, filling from your saucer. Like, you have to learn to invest in yourself fully so that when it's time to serve from your saucer, you have enough and you don't deplete yourself. But how do you know how to give just enough? Because I'm a giver. I don't know how to that bound. I'm still learning how to set boundaries.
Same. Yeah, same.
So how do
Same.
you know? Like,
You
where?
know what? What I learned when I was having a conversation yesterday with Imani, um, us as givers, what we have to do is, because healing and spirituality is all about self-work and self-accountability. What we have to do is we have to ask ourselves, am I open to receiving?
Yeah.
In order to receive, sometimes you got to stop giving. If your hands is always giving, 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 how can you receive something?
Yeah.
So sometimes we got to recognize when we are giving too much, and we got to stop and open our hands up to receive. You know what I'm saying? We really got to be mindful of that. We got to be mindful of being open to receive. You don't have to always be willing to give. It's okay to shut down sometimes and say, nah, I can't do it. No, and naturally, because of how we are nurturers and we are healers in our nature. So we just naturally want to help and we naturally want to fix. But you even got to catch yourself sometimes and say, mm-mm. Because really, you are the one who needs help and you are the one who needs fixing. So give that shit to you before you give it to other people. And I know, trust me, I know it's not easy. I know it's not easy. I struggle with it myself. But the question that I've been pondering since I had that conversation with her yesterday is, have I opened myself up to receive? Have I opened myself up to receive? And I have. I can name times in the past that I have. But right now, am I open to receiving? Am I open to receiving help? Am I open to receiving true love, honest love, healing love? So we have to make sure that we are consciously putting ourselves in positions to receive.
But you know what? I agree 100%. But with learning, still trying to overcome the trust issues, I don't really know how to. I guess it's discernment. Figure out who's here, who's truthfully here and wants to do good, and who's not. I don't know how to trust people enough to say, oh, okay, they just want to be here. I always question everything.
People show you. We know. The thing is, sometimes we are in denial and we give the benefit of the doubt to people who don't deserve it. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. We know who is here for us. We got to do that relationship inventory. And you have to ask yourself, every person in your life, do a relationship inventory, a holistic wellness check-in, and identify the person, identify the type of relationship, and then ask yourself, is this spiritually well? Is this mentally well? Is it emotionally well? Is it physically well? If your wellness is depleted in any aspect of that relationship, then that means that that person is not holistically well for you. Period. There ain't no questions about it. There's no questions about it, especially if there's a pattern of depletion. If there's a pattern of emotional imbalance in that relationship, that person ain't healthy for you. If there's a pattern of mental imbalance in that relationship, that person is not healthy for you. If they're not constantly supporting you. Because in true love is consistent. True love is consistent. When somebody really loves you, whether it's a family member, friend, anybody, if they really love you, they are consistent with their love. We all make mistakes. And mistakes can absolutely be forgiven. But the difference between a mistake and a character flaw is a mistake is not repeated again and again and again. If there's a pattern of behavior, then that's just who they are. If there's a pattern of disrespect, if there's a pattern of dropping the ball and supporting you, then they don't really love you and they're not really for you. So check for the patterns. Check for the patterns.
But I do that in my friendships now. But when it comes to new people coming into your life, That's where I have the issue. Like, I done been hurt so much. And I know you can't hold on to that hurt because you're not going to be able to grow that way. But, and every person is not the previous people that hurt you. But it's just a matter of being okay with people being themselves and not like accepting the fact that people are people and they're entitled to do it as they choose, as they well please. And it might not always go with what you think it is supposed to be. But that's just who the person is.
Yeah. New people, sis, you know, the interesting thing is tabula rasa. You got to start them out with a blank slate, girl. Everybody starts with a blank slate. I trust everybody. Until you give me a reason not to trust you. You got to trust everybody. You have to. You have to. What you cannot do and what we should not do. Let me not say what you can't do, because I can't tell you what you can and cannot. But all I can do is just say, you know, what is not healthy is applying your previous experience to blank slates.
Right.
You know, it's kind of like that theory of Adam and Eve, you know, where Eve bit the apple, therefore we are all tainted in sin. Who said I got to be tainted in sin? Who said that?
I don't want no part of that.
I didn't do nothing. Why can't I? You know, but that's where tabula rasa comes from. Tabula rasa is the philosophy that goes against that, where it's the belief that we are all born with a blank slate. And I apply that philosophy to new people I meet. I apply tabula rasa. I trust you. I believe you. I give you the love and the honor and the respect with the hopes that you are a good person. And I'm going to treat you as though you are a good person until you show me a pattern of otherwise. You know what I'm saying? And in order to get to that point where you can honestly, genuinely from your spirit be able to see everyone as a blank slate, you're going to have to heal from that past trauma of being hurt, of being disappointed and being let down. You know what I'm saying? You're going to have to identify that was that person, but that doesn't mean that that's you.
I think I'm going backwards though, because I was trusting and now I'm not.
But why? What was the trigger that changed it?
I started paying attention to people for who they were and not the person that I painted them to be.
Okay.
So,
and there's nothing wrong with that.
It's nothing wrong with that, but it's like you can't, now that I have my eyes open, I can't hold them. If it's a character flaw, that's one thing, like you said. But if they can't change it, then I can't hold it against them. I'm learning how to not hold that against them.
Whoa. Now, hold on now. No. This is the thing.
Yeah.
If they have a character flaw that goes against your wellness, it's up to them whether or not they want to change it. However, you can still hold them accountable for their behavior. But it's up to you to decide, are you going to accept that or not? The responsibility is always on us. It's always on us. It's not on them. They are who they are. And we identify it as a flaw. And the reason we identify that part of them as a flaw is because it goes against our wellness, right? But for them, it may be a perfection. And we have to give them that respect. You know what I'm saying? Some people pride themselves on being able to snap at the drop of a hat or being able to finesse people and stuff. That's a point of pride for some people. You know what I'm saying? So what we identify as a character flaw may be a point of perfection for them. So they are who they are. What we have to decide is, do we want to accept that? You know, the responsibility is up to us. So a way to heal from past trauma in that way of being done wrong is taking the accountability and asking yourself, why did I accept that behavior? Why do I accept this type of treatment? And if someone else, a new person comes into your life, you give them the opportunity to trust them. You start them with a blank slate. If they show you a behavior that goes against your wellness, you have the choice to accept it or not. Oftentimes we accept it and then we become resentful and we become angry at them, but really it's on us because we accepted it. You know, they showed us who we were, we believed them and still took it, you know, in hope that they would change. No.
Girl. So I'm about to like segue into like yoga.
Okay.
Do you still practice yoga?
Yes, I do.
So what got you interested in it?
What got me interested in yoga, 2013, I was in Texas for the summer doing neuroscience research. And that was like a big moment of spiritual awakening for me. I went on a whole journey. I did a juice fast, and I hopped head first into becoming vegan after the juice fast and all kind of stuff. And I really just, started studying different things and different, spiritual practices, and yoga was one of them. I had done yoga, but I had never really like dived into it and really studied the roots of it and everything. And I remember laying on the floor in my hotel room in Texas and doing a stretch, and my whole back cracked. Like my whole back just, and I was like, oh, I needed this. This was life changing. And I literally would never forget, like from crown to root chakra, I felt a shift and a change. And I've been just addicted ever since. It's like crack. I've been chasing that feeling ever since. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So I got introduced into yoga. So I've always, if you paid attention to Big Comfy Couch, she did yoga, and that was my girl. And I didn't realize she was doing yoga until I got older. But when I got to college, I was in a music class, and Professor Benhammer made us do yoga every morning. It was like yoga meditation. And at first, being a Christian, devout Christian, I was like, oh, I'm not doing this. This is against this ain't
in the Bible.
Yeah, this against
Paul did not
do this. So I started doing it in class because it was mandatory, but I wouldn't do any of the chants because I was like, because you're not gonna get me like that. I'll do it, but I ain't finna do no chant. So I started doing yoga, and I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I started like my anger and everything. I started focusing on, like, she had a bracelet with beads, and she said every time she felt her anxiety peak or every time she was angry about something, she always just grabbed the bracelets and counted the beads, and that's how she calmed herself. So I was like, dang, okay, all these people doing all this other stuff that I ain't never seen before. I ain't never heard nobody talk about all this stuff growing up, yoga and herbs and all this stuff. And I ain't never heard on. I know our ancestors talked about this and did all this stuff. I had never seen it firsthand. And in my family, I'm the only one that's really been interested in like holistic healing before I even knew why I was.
What it was.
So all of this stuff just started coming to me, yoga and Professor Jackie, all these people, these positive people start coming, and I was like, okay, yoga, let's get grounded. Let's figure out like what these issues are so we can separate ourselves from the things that no longer serve us and just work on that balance.
Yeah, let me try it out.
Like, working on physical balance works on mental, emotional balance.
Absolutely. It's about getting in tune with body. That's what yoga has done for me. Yoga has definitely helped me become more in tune with my body. You know what I'm saying? It's the way that I can connect with my physical and align it. It's like a tool of direct alignment, aligning the physical with the mental, emotional, and spiritual. You know what I'm saying? I've done yoga before and did a movement with my physical body that triggered a mental thought that also triggered an emotional breakthrough that then triggered a spiritual healing. You know what I'm saying? So that's the beauty of yoga. It's an easy way to get aligned completely and holistically, and with practice though, because it's not easy in the beginning. In the beginning, I was guilty of being so focused on the physical movement and making sure that I'm doing my warrior pose exactly right. And, I grew up, I was on a dance team and a step team, so I'm all about precision. So I'm like, let me make sure, am I precise? Is my shoulder meeting? Like, I was really too focused on the physical. And then once I get connected breath work and relaxation, that's when it all really came together. So connecting the yoga with the meditation really help build that bridge of alignment that I needed to heal.
It's a different type of peace.
It's like absolutely.
It's beautiful.
and it's easily accessible. I started by like finding videos on YouTube,
Yep.
and one of them I still go back to this day. Like if I take a long break from yoga, I still go back to the same video that I used in 2013.
Wow.
The same video, and it's all I type in is like meditation, yoga and meditation for beginners, and it's like a 9-minute video that comes up, and girl, like to this day, that shit is so healing for me. To this day, you know, yoga is it. It is it. And I did hot yoga. You remember in Savannah, they had the Savannah Yoga Power.
Oh, yeah.
Savannah Power. I used to go there all the time. And that really like trying Bikram yoga, that really just like took it over the edge for me. That really like, that hot yoga sold me.
Really?
Because it was a natural high. As a pothead girl, okay, let me tell you, as an avid weed smoker, okay, when I did hot yoga, that was the first time that I experienced a natural high that felt better than weed.
Wow.
Yeah, hot yoga, that was the first time I experienced a natural high that felt way better than weed. Like left out of there feeling like I was on cloud 9. And I was like, damn, I ain't even smoked today. And I feel good. I wanted to go back.
Yeah.
That shit was lit.
Wow. So what other practices do you do as far as health and healing?
Herbs. I take a lot of herbs, like to the point that I've even been kind of like telling myself, like, wait a minute, you know, like I do a lot of herbs. I drink a lot of tea throughout the day. Tea and water is like what I mostly consume. So different herbs, a lot of breath work, a lot of breathing. I've really, really been studying breath work, heavy. A lot of meditation, altar work, a lot of altar work. I'm at my altar constantly, and just like communing with the ancestors and stuff like that. Spiritual bathing is another healing practice that I do. I have, you know, various it's tantra, a lot of tantra work, which, you know, tantra is essentially getting connected with the body and understanding various pressure points on the body and what they trigger and what they heal, being able to adjust your mindset, being able to shift your vibrations by touching and connecting various pressure points on your body, and, you know, and triggers different things. So I do that on myself quite often. Reflexology is another healing work. Reiki is, I'm a certified Reiki practitioner. That's another form of healing work that I utilize. So like a variety of different things. I just do what I feel I need for that day. You know what I'm saying? I practice silence. Silence is healing. Silence is truly healing. So I will have periods or days where I'm consciously silent. I don't speak a single word at all. Not a word. I don't speak at all. I'm not writing messages or anything. I will spend 24 hours in complete silence, fasting from talking. That's a healing practice that I utilize, you know. And these are various things that I've learned with traveling. Various healing practice I learned from traveling the world. I learned a lot of yoga, meditation, and silence in Bali, speaking to monks in Bali. When I was in Cuba, I spoke to some monks in Cuba, and they practice silence, you know, 24 hours from talk fasting and things like that. So this is just stuff that I learned from traveling, and I tried it, and the shit works.
Yeah.
You know, speak to the monks, no matter where you go, wherever you live at. Find some monks where you live, some monks and some nuns, and sit down with the monks and the nuns, and you gonna get some shit, some real.
You know, I maybe a year ago, I was listening to music. Once I started like cleaning out my music, I started listening to Drake. And I can't remember what song it is, but he said, a wise man once said nothing at all. And from the day that I heard that quote up until now, it's on the wall over my sink as a constant reminder that you don't have to talk all the time, because I'm a talker and I don't know how to hush. And sometimes I need to listen and just listen. And when I tell you, like, just sitting there quiet, listening to myself, or not even just thinking about anything, just sitting there just in silence, it gives you so much clarity.
Yeah.
So much.
Absolutely.
Clarity, without even
Tamar Braxton.
anything.
Tamar Braxton said sometimes you got to get hit with the spirit of the hush.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the spirit. A spirit. Sometimes you need the spirit of the hush. You know what I'm saying? Like, you really just need to hush and just listen. Just listen. Like, you'll be surprised. You know, I'm not married, But even like discuss it with your husband, and even have a day where y'all alternate, where
Yeah.
you know you may spend 6 hours in a silent fast, and let him know that he can still speak to you,
Mhm.
but your only job is to listen. And imagine how healing that would be for him and for you and for your relationship. Like how much progress that would be for him to know that she's listening and you can't respond to anything. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? To
Girl, you just
anything. You
gave me
cannot verbally
enough
respond.
time.
Just listen. That's one of the most powerful tools, when I'm able to just be silent, and people know that I'm silent, but I'm just listening, you know, and I'm just here and I'm present. And when you are, you'll be surprised with other aspects of your holistic wellness kick in. Because when you can't speak, you're forced to listen. Your emotions get in more in tune. Your mentality gets more in tune. Your physical gets more in tune. Your spirit feels more connected, you know, because those are the only tools that you can really communicate with. You can't talk with your mouth, so you can't spill everything out. You're able to kind of process more. And then at that point, you're able to catch flaws in your processing,
Mhm.
because you're able to realize that, damn, if I was able to talk, I would have rebutted that shit. But because I didn't rebuttal that, now all I can do is listen. And now I have a deeper
Right.
understanding. So maybe when I am talking, maybe I'm speaking before I fully understand. You know, it's, you're able to really evaluate your processing and evaluate your communication skills when you do not speak.
Yeah.
Silence is real. That's a form of meditation. There's silent meditation, you know, there's silent yoga. Silence is a form of healing for real.
Girl, you just gave me an idea. I mean, I sit quiet often, but I never give him permission to just talk while I'm quiet, to just
Mhm.
freely express himself. So I'm definitely gonna try that.
Yeah, about anything.
Yeah.
Freely, you freely
Just
express
start
about
talking, 'cause
everything.
I don't have no problem with talking, but he the quiet one.
Yeah. And also like just doing anything throughout life, you know, and like, you know, listening to your thoughts. And when you sitting in silence, listen to your thoughts and then write them down. You
Yeah.
know, filter through the thoughts and write them down. Like if you have something where you feel like you got to get it out, and normally you would say it, write it down and then revisit it the next day when you can speak.
Yeah.
You know, revisit it the next day and see, was that really worth saying?
See, I'm
You
a writer
know?
anyway, so that's my first thought. That was my
Yeah.
go-to growing up because I didn't really have anybody to talk to. So I've just been writing my whole life. So now it's
Mm,
more so verbalizing that I'm working on, because I can write
mm.
out my feelings, but I can't really express them verbally.
What do you feel like is the disconnect between the two?
Um, I feel like I'm gonna be judged for my opinions or my decisions because that's what I'm used to. I feel like nobody listens because that's what
Mm,
I've experienced before. So it's like I would rather write it down to get my point across. And if somebody sees it, then they see it. If they don't, they don't. I don't have to
mm.
deal with the rejection if I write it down, as opposed to me talking.
Okay.
So that's something that I'm definitely working on.
So if somebody judges you, then what?
They
Is
just
that, does that change how you feel?
mm, now it's kind of 50-50 because I'm still kind of in that, dang, they just judged me. Why did they judge me? What did I do wrong? What did I say? I'm still kind of in that space, but I'm also in that, okay, they judged me. Fuck these folks phase. So it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of half and half because that's something that I've been carrying all my life. And 25 is where I cut it off at. So 25 to 29 is just a short period of time of trying to overcome those years. If that made that makes
Mm.
sense.
That definitely makes sense. Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
it's just half and half sometimes. Like sometimes I'm like, fuck these folks. They ain't nobody. My husband like
Yeah.
me, I like me. It's people that like me.
That's mm-hmm.
But then there's other times it's like I sit there and I analyze, overanalyze everything.
Okay. Okay. And, you know, the interesting thing about that is that's something that a lot of people struggle with, right? Even like I definitely used to struggle with the idea that, you know, people, the fear of being misunderstood. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't really, I wasn't trying to say that. That's not what I meant. That's not the fear of being misunderstood. But what really like helped me with that was And I'm still growing in this understanding, still growing and knowing for sure that although we are all connected, we are also all individuals.
Mm-hmm.
And you have your own experiences, you have your own conditioning, which impacts how you perceive things.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That impacts the way you perceive things. So whether or not you understand me, whether or not you get it, whether or not you agree or disagree, you think I'm right or think I'm wrong, that is all based on your own conditioning and your own experience. And it does not mean that one of us is better than the other. It does not mean that one of us is right or one of us is wrong. All I know for sure is that's your shit.
Yeah.
And this is my shit. All I could do is express. You know what I'm saying? All I can do is express. So as we express ourselves, expressing ourselves is for us. It's a release. It's a release. You got to think of yourself as a bottle. You know what I'm saying? You can only hold but so much water. You got to release some in order to be able to take some in. When I was in Bali, my guru told me, he said, listen, he said, right now you are the happiest you have been in a long time. He said, you feel filled up, don't you? You feel good. I said, yeah. He was like, because you are full and we're just pouring in and pouring in and pouring in. He said, but you're going to have to go and release some so that we can pour some more in. You got to pour some out so we can pour some in, you know, and when we pour out, that's us expressing, that's us having conversation, us sharing our thoughts and our opinions and our ideas of what we have in that bottle for right now. For right now, you know what I'm saying? And that water may be good, it may not be good for some people, depending on who's drinking it. You know what I'm saying? But that's what we have right now. And then when we pour some more in, and some more in, and some more in, we'll pour more out. You know, so that's the idea of growth and evolution. That's really what it is. So understanding that you are allowed to express, you are allowed to pour out freely, whether it tastes good to them or feels good to them, is based on their experience and their conditioning. It has nothing to do with you or what's in your bottle. Your only job is just to keep making sure that you pour out so that you can keep receiving more and more and more. And the more that you are receiving is knowledge, it's understanding, it's practices, it's different spiritual, physical, mental, emotional healing work that you will be doing, you know, studying nonstop, watching podcasts, watching videos, reading books, reading passages and excerpts, listening to different people speak, you know, that is what you pour in. And then what you pour out is the information of what you think you know.
Mm-hmm.
What you think you know. Because we don't know. It's what we think we know. You know, that's what we pour out. And people have the right to agree or disagree. Yeah. They have the right to think that you are the most disgusting and vile human being ever to exist. They have the right to think that. But all you're doing is saying what you think you know. Yeah. You know, that's where a lot of my like, okay, comes from. You know, like I just be like, okay, because I could be wrong. I could be right. I could be wrong. You know, you didn't have to disrespect me like that and call me all them names, but okay, I get it. You know, it's just how you feel. Right. You know, but that's just life, girl. That's life. But be free. You know, be free. Pour your bottle out so that you can be able to receive more.
Girl, I think another reason why is because of like my dad was really religious. Well, is really religious. My mom wasn't that religious, but my dad was really religious. So it was certain strict things that I couldn't do. I could only go to church, couldn't really go with no friends, couldn't do. So I'm still kind of stuck in that mindset a little bit. Even though I've been on my own for years, I'm still kind of.
What's the mindset?
Like people controlling my life, telling me what I can and can't do. So even though I've been on my own, it's still been people that feel like they can control my life. And religion was part of the control. Like you can't do certain things because Christians don't do these things. You can't act this way because Christians don't act this way. So a lot of my mentality that I'm trying to change or relearn is it's okay to do certain things. It's just how you do them. It's okay to communicate certain ways. It's just how you communicate. It's okay to be around certain people. It's just how you do it. So I think the Christianity aspect of it is what kind of the standards. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
How it's so strict, and now I still have that strict mindset that I'm trying
I
to.
get it. I get it. It's having. This is the thing with religion. Religion is just a set of rules.
Mm-hmm.
It's a set of rules. It's like when you walk in that classroom and they got the rules and expectations on the
Yeah.
wall. It's a set of rules and expectations. That is all religion is, a set of rules. And we say, okay, all right, it's a set of rules, it's a set of expectations, and we grow up and we abide by them and
Mm-hmm.
we live by them. And then this moment that you are in, where it's up to you to decide. It's up to you to decide what are your own rules and expectations. Because I'm going to be honest with you. You know, people speak about freedom, and people think freedom is not having rules or
Yeah.
expectations. No, 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 no. True freedom is setting your own rules and expectations. You still have to govern yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But those rules and expectations are what you decide. That's when it comes to take, because you spoke on the mindset of, you know, just control, people controlling you with these rules and expectations. But the thing is, you have to regain that power. You have to take back that power, and you now have the power to govern yourself. So, what are your own rules and expectations? What are your own morals and values? What do you think is right or wrong? That's when we have to unlearn and relearn.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when you come from a very religious family. My mother was a minister for a brief period. She was a minister in a Baptist church. Okay. So you are, and not a full gospel either.
Woo.
Okay. She was a minister in a Baptist church. But I was blessed to once again move around a lot. So I experienced Pentecostal, I experienced
Mm-hmm.
Islam, I experienced Jehovah's Witnesses, I experienced Israelites with moving with, you know, moving around and being with different people. So the beautiful thing about it is, all knowing for sure from experience that everybody has rules that they live by.
Mm-hmm.
And once I realized that, I was like, okay, I can make my own rules. I have the right to govern
Yeah.
myself. What do I think about this? What do I think about it? And start with like the overall, the big shit. Start with the 10 Commandments. What do you think about murder?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about murder? And really, like, within yourself, question yourself and challenge yourself. It's easy to say murder is wrong, but what about when somebody's trying to kill you?
Yeah.
What if somebody is trying to hurt your child?
Yeah.
What if somebody is trying to rape somebody? What if you see, is murder wrong in that case? What do you feel about murder? Thou shalt not kill. Under what circumstances? How do you govern yourself? What do you think is right or wrong in regards to murder? Go through the 10 Commandments. What do you think is right or wrong in regards to stealing? What if a mother needs to feed her child and she don't have no other way to get milk? Is she going to hell because she stole some milk for her baby?
Yeah.
You know? So go through, start with the 10 Commandments, and then after you move through that, evaluate everything in your life. But we all need a governor. And you are your own governor. That's the only thing that you have power over. You know, we of course we ain't governing America. We ain't governing our environment. You govern your wellness. So what are your morals and values and your rules for your wellness? Unlearn all that other stuff by going back and asking yourself, what do I really believe?
Mm-hmm.
What do I really feel? But also know that you have room to change your mind.
Yeah.
You have room to change your mind. You know?
Think we need to start like promoting that more, that it's okay to change your mind. It's okay to not do things the way they used to be. It's okay for you to question stuff.
Absolutely.
Because I think we're stuck on things have to be a specific way. And if it doesn't go this way, oh, it's wrong. And everybody going ahead.
Absolutely.
And that's
absolutely.
No way to live.
No, I've changed my mind a lot. As I've grown in my spiritual journey, I've changed my mind a lot about a lot of things. About a lot of things, I've changed my mind. You know, some of them I won't say because, you know, my old thoughts would be hurtful to some people, and it's never my intention to hurt anybody, you know. But one of the things I will say that I used to believe that I've changed my mind on, I used to really genuinely think that women should not distribute their vagina in certain ways. I used to feed into the hoe philosophy.
Yeah.
Like, she's a hoe, you can't turn a hoe into a housewife.
Yeah.
She done slept with more than 10 men. or more than 5 men. She's past one hand, therefore she's a hoe and ain't nobody gonna want her. You know what I'm saying? And over time, as I've got to know people and studied friends and really studied sexuality and sexual norms and gender norms, I've changed my mind on that philosophy.
Yeah.
Now, does that mean that I govern myself differently? I still govern myself a certain way.
Yeah.
You know, I still have my own definition of sexual freedom for me, but I also don't apply that judgment of hoedom onto anybody else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So as you learn, you grow, and you have the right to change your mind as you learn. But don't forget where you came from. A big issue that I have, an issue that I have with people changing their mind is they forget how they used to think, and they shame people who still think how they used to think.
Yeah.
They shame people who are where they used to be. And that's a problem in spirituality. And that's a problem in, you know, just the whole healing process, because we are all healers. But what's really hindering some people from practicing their healing work is they judging the people that they could be healing. Those people, you used to be them. You used to be that person. You used to think that way. Don't judge them. Don't down them. You used to be that person. Remember where you came from. And then what you can do is you can teach how you got to where you are now. I can talk to sisters who are super conservative and sexually inhibited because I used to be that person. I used to think that way. You know, I can talk to sisters and brothers who were very conservative in their thinking when it came to, you know, the LGBTQ plus community, because I grew up and thought that way before. You know what I'm saying? So we have to remember where you came from. You have the right to change your mind and never forget where you came from either.
Yeah. But I think we also have to have more people that's willing to teach, because it's so many people judging, but nobody want to teach. Nobody want to say, oh, they'll tell you it's wrong, but they won't say how it's wrong or how you can correct it or why they feel like you should try to correct it. Everybody just wants to point the finger and say, oh, you can't do that, you can't do this. Like, we need more teachers.
I think we don't have enough teachers because I think people deep down inside realize that they don't know for sure. And I think people really think that in order to be a teacher, you have to know for sure concretely that this is what it is. And that's not, this is the key. This is the thing, right? When you are teaching, it's about especially healing work. It's about teaching growth, not perfection. People think you have to teach perfection. You know, I was on live the other day, and somebody was like, you know, can you teach me how to do readings? That the point is not doing the reading. The point of being a healer, or the point of spiritual work, is not so that you can read people. The point of spiritual work is the journey to get to the point to read people. Is get to the point to where you can communicate with ancestors and communicate with spirit and communicate, you know, with the spiritual realm. That I can teach you that part. You know, that's the work, the end goal. What is that? Because once you get there, you'll realize that, honestly, readings, for what?
Yeah.
For what? I don't want to do a reading for you. I want to teach you how to be able to read yourself. I don't want to do a reading for you. I want to be able to teach you how to communicate with your ancestors for you. I want to teach you how to read the signs and the omens and connect with the universe, and to be able to pose a question to the universe and get a response. I don't want to have to do it on your behalf. I don't want to be an intercessor. I want to teach you to do the work for you. You know, go ahead.
Part of my frustration right now, because at first it was, okay, I don't have a problem with teaching, but now it's like, okay, do it for me. I can't do the work for you. I can only tell you how or what tools I use to get there. I can't pick you up and be a part of your own rescue.
Absolutely.
All I can say, this is what I did. These are the people that I started following. These are the things that I decided to do. Whatever works for you, I'm still here. We can talk through things, but I can't get you to point A from point A to point B. I don't know how to do that for you. I don't.
Well, let me tell you, Sister Queen, everybody ain't gonna do it. Everybody ain't gonna do it. And that's the part, you know, that it honestly is saddening. I can't even think of another word, but that's the part that's really honestly saddening, when you recognize that everybody is not willing to do that work.
Yeah.
Everybody is not willing to do it. You can give people the tools, you can give them the book, you can give them the videos, you can tell them, but everybody is just not willing to do that. They're not.
Mm-hmm.
And you got to decide how you're going to move forward with those people.
Yeah.
Everybody ain't willing to do that. You know, I've learned that over time, where I'm like, I gave you this book. I told you about this podcast. I introduced you to this person. I showed you everything. What more do you want? Oh, you want me to do it for you. I can't do it. And that's what makes the movement that you are, you know, coining so powerful, that be a part of your own rescue. You know, that's a powerful statement, because that idea of nobody is going to save you. In Scandal, you know, I like my references. In Scandal, Olivia Pope, she told Fitzgerald Grant, she said, listen, he said, I saved you. And she said, no, you did not save me. I saved me. I survived that. I went through that. You did not save me. I saved me. And that philosophy that nobody is going to save you, you have to be willing to save yourself. Nobody can do that work for you. You got to do it for yourself, you know? But a lot of people, they ain't there. They ain't there. You're right. You got to want it.
Well, some people I talk to, like I'll tell my husband, I'll be talking to him about somebody, and I'll be like, I want to tell them so bad, but they not ready. And I don't want to tell somebody something and they not ready to accept it. And then they look at me crazy, and I'm like, you want it. I know you want it, but you're not ready.
Well, that's not, we don't have that power.
Yeah.
We don't have the power to determine who's ready and who's not ready.
But when I say ready, I mean like,
I get what you mean.
Yeah. Okay.
I get what because trust me, sometimes it's kind of like, you know, that they ain't gonna do, you know, you feel, but what I've recognized is that it's not up to us. It's not up to us. I do it too, sis. Sometimes I'm like, she ain't ready, he ain't ready, but I still gotta share it anyway. Because that's my job. Yeah. That's what I'm supposed to do. That's my part. That's me emptying my bottle so that I can receive more. You know what I'm saying? I still gotta share the information and give the knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Even with you doing this podcast, it's gonna be some people who listen to this who they're not even ready for a millisecond of what we talking about. But it's here for when they are. Yeah. You know, it's here for when they are. It's our job to just put the information out there. So when you are talking to that person, if your spirit leads you, okay, sorry. But if your spirit leads you to share some information, just share it. If your spirit tells you, give them this book. Oh, you know what? You know how you get that little inclination that, this book could be good for them. This podcast would be good. Let me send such and such this. Even if you feel like they're not ready, do it anyway. Yeah. Do it anyway, because you know what? They may not be ready right now, but when they are ready, but not brave enough to ask you, it's there because you sent it when your spirit led you to send it. You know what I'm saying? So just do it anyway. Okay. Even though they may not be ready.
I'm sitting here like, listen now, what I'm not going to do is this. When you're ready, you can come to this. I'm going to just sit here and but I also, it's a contradiction because I'm also the first person that says whether it's one person or 1,000, somebody going to hear you. Yeah. So why say, oh, they not ready when it's one person or 1,000?
Absolutely. So, absolutely. And you'll be surprised. You'll be surprised like who that person is. You'll be surprised. That person may be the one that you think is not ready. Or the part that you think that they're not ready for, they may not be ready for. But it may be a whole other thing you said that sparked something in them to get ready for what you really meant. You know what I'm saying? I have people who like my YouTube videos. Some people watch my YouTube videos and be like, I watched this a long time ago, but now I'm rewatching it and now I understand this part of the video. I get this part. Oh, I came back because I remember you said this and then I heard that from somebody else and now I'm coming back again and now I really see what you meant. You know what I'm saying? So that's why we just got to put it out there. put it out there. Your only job, and you have such a beautiful platform and such a beautiful thing you're doing. Your only job is just to put the information out. People need to hear you and see you as a young, beautiful sister who's starting and your journey of really being like an independent entrepreneur of holistic wellness. You know, people need to see you from scratch. You know, are you familiar with Carol's daughter?
Yeah.
This was Carol's daughter. You know, we was able to, and Carol's daughter started in Brooklyn, and we were able to see when she was selling lotions and sugar scrubs and soaps out of her house.
Yeah.
And now she's Carol's daughter that's world renowned. I was in Paris and saw Carol's daughter. You see what I'm saying? So people, as a young Black woman, people need to see you start from scratch. And you will never know who you are inspiring. You know what I'm saying? So share. Even if they are not ready, they watching. And then when they are ready, you're gonna be that spark. I remember, and they're gonna come back and revisit. So just put out, even if you don't feel like you're right, just put out what you think you know, what you think you're doing, because somebody is gonna connect with that. And then when you do correct yourself, and as you grow, share that too. You know, and then that's where transparency comes in. It's like, I used to think this, y'all. I know y'all saw me. I used to do this in the past, but I learned this and I changed my damn mind. And now I do that, you know, and now I feel like this. People need to see you, you know.
But is that an episode that you already posted about vulnerability? Or is that one?
No. That one is coming soon. So I've been wanting to talk about the topic of vulnerability for a while. But I'm going to drop it soon. I'm going to go live about it and share about it. Would you want to be on that one?
Sure. Why not?
Okay. I'm not, like I said, I'm going to pay. I'm looking at my laptop. I'm going to pay for the Zoom subscription thing because I've been trying to find out like how I can like add people to my YouTube lives. And basically I would have to do it through Zoom or StreamYard. But in order to be able to go live from Zoom to YouTube, you got to have the subscription. So I'm going to do the subscription so that I can be able to like bring people in, because I would want that to be a discussion with, you know, a few people talking about just vulnerability and being vulnerable and what it took for you to do that, especially as a Black woman, a Black entrepreneur, a Black woman on her healing journey. What is vulnerability for you, and how do you express vulnerability, you know, because it's a huge tool in entrepreneurship. So yeah, that one is coming soon. I'll send you the link and all that other stuff.
That's why I asked you first before we got into it, but since it ain't out, we ain't even gonna get into it.
Yeah, no, it ain't out yet. Not yet.
We'll wait. But vulnerability is a very, I think vulnerability, accountability, being honest and truthful with yourself, being able to forgive yourself. I think those are huge things. Learning to love yourself. I think all those things are really huge things, and in the healing process. But I don't know, because I also be thinking about myself while I be talking. And I go on this tangent about, well, are you doing these things? While I'm having the conversation, I'm asking myself, am I doing these things? Am I showing self-love? Am I vulnerable? Am I open? Am I honest? I don't know.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
That's okay. To become vulnerable, I had to recognize that I wasn't vulnerable. You know, to become vulnerable, I had to realize that I'm not a vulnerable person. I don't open myself up to vulnerability. You know, to become accountable, I had to recognize that I was pointing the finger too much. You know, so it's okay. You know, we constantly have to do that inventory. Every situation in our life, we have to ask ourselves, am I being accountable? What's my part? And was I vulnerable in that situation? What's my part? How did I show up? How was I open? How was I honest? Did I show integrity to myself and my own morals and values? You know what I'm saying? So it's okay. And sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes the answer is no, girl. Like sometimes the answer is, damn, I wasn't vulnerable. Damn, I wasn't being accountable in that moment. I didn't take accountability for my actions. And it takes time to get there. You know, I recently had a situation with a family member where I was standing my ground, okay? In the beginning, I was standing my ground for about 6 months. And, you know, my brother was like, what did you think about that? Maybe you was a little too harsh when you said that. And I was like, no, she needed to hear it. You know, I don't give a damn. I said the truth. Yeah. But in actuality, I had to take accountability because even though I may feel like it was the truth, even though I feel like, you know, the way I said it was okay, sis, it was bad timing. I needed to be accountable in that. Put yourself in her shoes. Was that the time that she needed to hear that? Could you have waited a few days? Let her breathe and grieve. Did you really need to say that right then? Even if you felt like what you said was right, even if you felt like the tone was okay, did you need to say it in that moment?
Yes.
What part can you take accountability for? Because we have to take accountability in everything. Manifestation. You know, if we are talking about manifesting, you got to take accountability for the good and the bad. And even when the bad happens, you ain't all the way right. Take accountability. What did you do that manifested that situation? If I would have waited, not only may I have changed what I said or how I said it, but maybe she would have been better able to receive what I said because the timing would have been different. I got to take accountability for the bad timing. I manifested a fucked up situation with somebody that I love.
Yeah.
You know, we have to take accountability in everything we do.
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. That inventory is real.
For real?
It's real. And that's the healing journey. That's the healing journey. Like what I try to tell people all the time is, don't think that you are ever going to be perfect. The process of healing is really constantly doing check-ins. The healing is the knowledge. It's the awareness. That's all it is. It's a lifetime of growth. And once you stop growing, you die.
Yeah.
If you stop doing this shit, you dead. You ain't never gonna show up perfect in every moment. I love Erykah Badu. She just tweeted out something and she said she feel like her best work is still deep down inside her.
Yeah.
You know, and people look at Erykah Badu as, you know, Erykah Badu, this beautiful.
Yeah, it's some great work.
Absolutely. They look at her like this holy goddess woman, and she is all of that. But the fact that she can even acknowledge that she's still growing at 40 something years old, at the latter end of her 40s, and she's still growing, that's just a testament. Queen Afua recognizes that in her 60s, she's still growing. If you stop growing, you are dead. You know what I'm saying? So I don't want people to ever start a healing journey and they like, oh, I want to get there. Because if you say you want to get there, then that means that's your end goal. If that's your end goal, you're dead.
But I think that's also like what ability and even success. Like people only want to see the end goal. Nobody really talks about all of the dirty work that you got to go through and the not so pretty days when you backtrack sometimes. Nobody really talk about that. Everybody just say, "Oh, I'm healing," or "I healed." Not necessarily, oh, I had some really bad days. I had to really sit down in my mess, and I've learned a lot of stuff about myself that I didn't even know was within me. Some stuff that started surfacing that I didn't even know that I had in me. Like, we don't talk about that stuff. And we start talking about it.
The reason we don't talk about that stuff is because a lot of us feel shamed about that. A lot of us feel judged about that stuff. You know what I'm saying? A lot of us are afraid of the judgment about that.
Yeah.
You know, I've just now gotten to the space where I feel comfortable sharing my mess with the world. You know, something I strive to do in all of my videos is I'm going to tell my business.
Yeah.
I'd rather tell, and I've always been comfortable with that with my friends and people who know me, but with the world, I'm going to tell my business. I'm going to tell y'all about when I went to jail. I'm going to tell you about that time I fucked a nigga at a party. I'm going to tell you about that time that I got a little too wild for my own good. I'm going to tell you about that time that I had a fucked up mentality of thinking. I'm going to tell you about it because I really want you to understand how I got there and how I grew from there. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to tell you about that time that I experienced deep, deep, dark depression.
Yeah.
When I was in a space that a lot of people was like, I want to get there. That's why I'm saying from personal experience, don't ever point your finger at the end goal because you don't know what the fuck is going on at that end goal. I was in Ethiopia. People messaging me like, oh, you are an inspiration. I wish it. And I was in deep depression for a month and some change in Ethiopia, a place people dream to go. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to be honest and talk about how I got there and what happened and how I brought myself out of that deep depression. You know, we need more transparency because that's where the connection comes from. That's where the empathy comes from. It's somebody out here right now who is in that space, who's in that deep depression, who doesn't understand, like, I don't know why I'm still holding on to this trauma. I don't know why I keep reliving these emotions. What can I do? How do I get out of this? I don't want to take medication. I don't want to have to go to a mental hospital. What can I do? And I can tell you from experience how I came out, what happened to me, what I did, and what worked for me may not work for you. You know, it may not, but all I could do is give you an idea.
Right.
That's it. We need that. We need people to be more transparent and more real about the lows, not just the highs, but the lows. You know, them lows is real. You know, the lows are real. That moment where, you know, I was talking to a sister of mine about love, you know, and this sister's the oldest sister, and she had reached a point where she had given up. She had given up on the idea of love. How many sisters will speak about that openly? How many sisters are willing to say, look, I thought nobody wanted me. I didn't have niggas coming up trying to holler at me. I didn't have nobody in my DMs. I felt like nobody wanted me, and that made me feel ugly. That made me feel unworthy. That made me feel like I wasn't attractive. That made me feel like this. That's how I felt. You know how many sisters is experiencing that right now? Somebody is looking at their phone right now, looking at their Instagram right now, looking at their Facebook right now, like, damn, ain't nobody checking for me. Nobody. And they done put on their best. Okay, they posted their flyest picture. And ain't nobody like it. And they feeling down on themselves. They need to know that this sister was there. This sister felt that. And guess what? Now this sister is happy. This sister found somebody. So let me see what her journey was like. She was where I am. Let me hear her and see how she experienced and how she healed from that experience. You know what I'm saying? So that's the power of transparency. The power of transparency is that nobody ever, 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 ever feels alone. Maya Angelou, nobody but nobody can make it out here alone. Nobody. We got to stop just sharing these highs and speak about that moment that you was your worst self. That's what I enjoy hearing. I enjoy hearing the stories about when you were your worst self from the best people. When you were your worst self, what did it look like?
Tell me what the journey was. Like, that's always been my thing. Since growing up, I ask a lot of questions. I'm very inquisitive. I don't care. Either you got the answers or you don't. Point me in the direction of somebody that got the answers. But I just, like, what made you do this? Like, even people watching your video again, talking to your family about like stuff that went on. What made you make this decision? Why do you do this? Like, that's the only way you're gonna get to know people. The only without judgment and have empathy for that person. That's the only way you're gonna get to know them.
Absolutely.
And they are.
Yes. And listen. The key with my family, you know, I listen so hard. I will ask a simple question. And you know what I enjoy? Those moments of silence. Because in those moments of silence, you know, especially with the elders, those moments of silence are a check-in. Are you judging me? What you think? They waiting for you to say something. They're waiting for that judgment to come out your mouth. You know what I'm saying? So I listen intently, and then I rest in the silence and just listen some more. And that you will see a shift in their comfort. You will see them rest their shoulders and know she listening, okay.
Yeah.
And they share more and they share more. I could literally ask my granddaddy one question. My granddaddy was known when I was young, he was known for being on the phone with people for 2 or 3 minutes. They'd be like, you know, granddaddy only be on the phone for 2 or 3 minutes. Me and my granddaddy be on the phone for 2 3 hours now. Because he knows I'm a listen. And he always said, now he even says himself, he'd be like, I love talking to you. I love talking to you. Because I don't do much talking. I just let my granddaddy go. He's always gotten such a horrible rap because my grandfather killed my grandmother. And he's always gotten such a horrible rap in my family, you know? And I just wanted to hear him and wanted to hear his side of the story. So me asking simple questions like, granddaddy, what y'all did for fun when you was young? It sparks a whole journey. And I got to understand my grandfather's addiction to alcohol when I just asked that one question. What did you used to do for fun when you were young? And I was able to connect the dots. Well, granddaddy, how you ended up moving to New York all the way from the South? What happened? Like, how you got there? Granddaddy, how did you meet grandma? What happened? When you saw her, what you thought? Okay, she was your type of woman. What type of women you like, granddaddy? Okay, now, you know, like, and I'm digging him up and, you know, acknowledging his greatness and his achievements, you know what I'm saying? Because our elders also want to hear thank yous. You know, they want to hear, you know, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be where I am, whether good or bad. You know, oftentimes, especially when you got an elder that did a lot of dirt, people like to throw the dirt up. People like to blame them for the trauma. But if my granddaddy didn't make that great migration from the South all the way to New York, we would not have had that beauty of the North and South experience. We had a dual experience of growing up in the North and the South. We knew grits and collard greens and mac and cheese and cornbread, but we also my mother was able to meet my Panamanian father, who his family also migrated from Panama to New York. And it was just an experience of migration and the intertwining of cultures and stuff. You know, my grandfather was the spark for that. You know, he was the one who just pop that off, you know, and I had to thank him no matter what the other, and I'm saying, not saying no matter, because for me to say no matter would be a kind of a disrespect to my grandmother's experience. But I also have to give credit where credit is due. You know, the same way we could give blame, we could give credit. And every person that you could point the finger at and blame them for some trauma, you could also point the finger and credit them for some healing. Even if their trauma is what you had to heal from. Because if it wasn't for that trauma, you would not be who you are today. If they did not abuse you, you would not know that you had the strength and the courage that you had. If they did not hurt you, you would not know that you have the power of resilience. So we got to give credit where credit is due. Blame them for the trauma, but give them credit as well for being a part of your healing journey. Everybody is a part of your story. You know what I'm saying? I ask 1,000 questions and I listen for 1,000,000 minutes. That's my philosophy. Ask 1,000 questions and listen for 1,000,000 minutes.
I think it's oh, I just forgot what I was about to say. Bad.
Okay. But for you with your family, what has that journey been? Like, have you, you know, because you spoke earlier on your journey with your family, have you gone back and asked questions? Have you spoken to your siblings and asked your sister, like, how she feels and stuff like that?
My sisters, it's 3 of us. I'm 4 girls, but 3 of us that talk on a regular basis. We don't, my older sister, she kind of does her own thing, but the other 3, we try to still communicate or whatever. But we don't really talk about, like, it's just us. We talk about our families. We talk about stuff that we got going on. And even so we were born in Savannah, raised in Macon. So once I graduated high school in 2009, I said that I was going to come to Savannah because I missed home and I wanted to go to a HBCU, because growing up, we didn't really talk like about Black history in our family. So me going to a HBCU was my exposure to our history. So I wanted to come back to Savannah so I can work on my relationship with my dad and also go to college. And I was like, it was just for years trying to work on my relationships with other people in my family. It just, nothing seemed like it were. No, not in the way that my idea of what a family was. Like, to be there to support you, to love you. Like, I never saw that from the people that was considered my family. So up until like last year, I just got to the point where I don't have the energy to keep putting in those relationships anymore. I've been trying for 10 years. I don't have it anymore. So I work on the relationships that I have. And anything else that's outside of that is just outside of that.
Okay.
And I don't know if that's toxic, because I know it's stuff that I have to heal from those relationships. I know it's conversations that need to be had, because I know our parents raised us off of their trauma. So I understand that it's certain things that certain conversations that still need to be had, but I just don't have it in me to go back and let possibly be hurt just to get the information, just to get the explanation. Like, I don't have that. I'm not vulnerable enough to put myself in that situation again.
Why would you be hurt?
Track records.
But what would hurt you if you was to go back and they did what again? What would hurt you?
I don't know. It's trying to control my life, I guess, or trying to make me feel less of a person, trying to demean me. I guess stuff like that.
Okay. So to me, what it sounds like to me is like you want a relationship, but you want a relationship that has validation. You want to be validated in the relationship and all of that good stuff. But what if you go back without the intention of building a relationship? What about having a conversation without the intention of the relationship? The conversation is just simply to understand.
Yeah.
A relationship does not have to be attached. It does not have to be attached to a relationship. A relationship may be what you desire, but that may not be what they're prepared to give. And it may not be what's meant for your wellness. The relationship, you want a relationship, but you want a relationship that's based in validation. They may could give you a relationship, but their relationship is to invalidate you.
Yeah.
So it goes against what you truly desire. How about just having a conversation with the intention to understand? Those are two separate things. Building a relationship and having a conversation are different. You know, you can have a relationship, but they may not be able to fully validate you.
Yeah.
Is that a relationship you want? No. You know, that's not the relationship you want. You can have a conversation and not have a relationship. That's okay too. Have a conversation with the intention to understand who they are, and then decide, do you want a relationship with who they truly are? That may be a turning point.
I've had conversations, 10 years of conversations.
But 10 years of conversation with the intention to what? To understand them?
You're right. You're absolutely
to understand, because you want to understand, why do they think the way they think?
Yeah.
You know, you want to understand why they do the way they do. Let me tell you, my father told me his philosophy is, I don't worry about no kids. I ain't worried about no kids. And I was like, what? As his child, I'm like, what type of parent says they don't worry about no kid? What type of parent? But what I had to also do was I wanted to understand his thinking. Why does he not worry about his kids? You know, why does he not care whether or not he sees his children? So why is it not a priority for him? Even though what he says is hurtful, that I know that we don't need to have a father-daughter relationship.
Yeah.
And that's, even though I would want that, that's not what we could have. That's not what we could have, because he's not prepared for that. But who are you? I still want to know, who is he? Who is my father as a person? Fuck the role of fatherhood as a man.
Yeah.
Who are you? You know, so have that conversation, get to know them as a person. Remove the role. Remove the role. Remove father, remove sister, remove cousin, remove auntie, uncle. Remove the role and get to know them as a person, and have the conversation of who they are as a person, to truly, truly understand them. You know, and then maybe the relationship will follow.
Part of the reason why previous episode was forgiveness, I didn't realize until now, is I have a lot of people that I haven't forgiven.
Mm-hmm.
Like, especially when I was homeless or suicidal and all that stuff, and the people that I thought was around me, like I still haven't forgiven a lot of people, and I still hold that on toward over them. And it's not hurting anybody but me, because they don't even know. But listening to you just made me realize that.
Mm. 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 And the thing is, you know, we could forgive people, but have you truly forgiven people? Mm. You know, we say we forgiven, but have we really forgiven? Have you really released that anger and resentment? And if you haven't, that's okay. The fact that you're able to recognize I haven't forgiven them is a strength within itself. Yeah. Now it's about doing the work to one by one identify, why am I still angry? And this is the beauty, is there's a practice called the empty chair challenge, the empty chair practice. Empty chair, and that's one they have YouTube videos of like people practicing it, but it's a beautiful psychology practice that I learned from Dr. Jameson, Tashala Jameson at Savannah State University. And with the empty chair challenge, what you do is you sit with the empty chair, and in that chair you imagine the person who hurt you, the person who did you wrong, the person who made the transgression. You imagine it, that's them that's in the chair. You sit back, you relive that moment. And when I say relive it, you have to fully relive that moment. Put yourself back in that space. Feel that hurt, feel that trauma, feel that abuse, hear those words, feel that disappointment. Really if you was the little girl on the porch waiting for daddy to show up and he never came, whatever it was, put yourself in that moment and turn to that chair, to whoever is in that chair, and you say everything the fuck you got to say. You get it all out. If you need to cry, you curse their ass out, you say what you need. When I was in Ethiopia and I was in my deep depression, I was in that depression because I literally prayed to the universe when I showed up. I said, listen, I'm ready to start my journey of teaching. What I need you to do, universe, God, I need you to show me the parts of myself that I'm hiding from me. Show me those finishing touches of healing that I need to do, that I'm afraid of, that I may be hiding from me, that I may not even be aware of. Yeah. I started waking up out of my sleep in cold sweats, okay? Because I was reliving this trauma. I would dream and be right back in that space of being that little girl eating out the closet, being that little girl getting spit on, being that little girl, all this trauma, all this abuse that happened to me, that in that moment, I didn't say what I wanted to say. I didn't do what I wanted to do. And I had to do the empty chair. Yeah. And I had to get that shit out, because really that anger and resentment that you're harboring is really, even though we're mad at them and we're resentful towards them, it's really us that we're mad at, because I didn't say what the fuck I wanted to say. I didn't do what I should have did. You know how you argue with somebody and you be like, after the argument, you be like, I should have said such and such. Yeah. Our childhood self feels that too. Yeah. It's a lot of stuff that we wish we could have did to our parents that we ain't do, that we wish we could have did to the adults in our life that we ain't do, to our siblings that we didn't do. So that empty chair challenge, do that. Have that conversation. Say what you got to say. Get it out. And even though it sounds crazy because there ain't really nobody in the chair, you just need to release that. You need to release it. You need to express. You need to empty that bottle. Yeah. You know, because sometimes what's in that bottle is toxic. You need to empty that bottle. You got to get that shit the fuck out. Yeah. You got to curse their ass out. Sometimes you need to swing on a nigga in the chair. You know, and it ain't nobody there, but you just gotta swing, bitch, what's up? You know, sometimes you there, but that's what you need to heal, you know, release that. And that will be a part of the forgiveness process, releasing those pent up emotions, those pent up responses that you wish you could have had, what you wish you could have said, you know, and the beautiful part about the empty chair is they ain't got no choice but to listen. Yeah. because they can't say shit back. You know what I'm saying? They ain't got no choice but to receive everything you give it, but you just need to get it out. And surprisingly, you will feel much better.
Yeah. That's good. What is it called again?
The empty chair. It's the empty chair practice. Yeah. And you can look, like I said, there's videos on YouTube that you can look at, but so you can just type in psychology, empty chair, and it'll come up. And it's a good one. It's one, like I said, I've utilized it myself. You know, I've utilized it myself. Even if you in the shower and you want to have, it don't have to necessarily be a chair.
Yeah,
you can be in the shower.
Down and burnt it. I've done that before.
Okay, that's different though.
Yeah,
that's different. The burning ceremony is different. A burning ceremony is different. Burning ceremonies are good too, but it's different than. Okay, sorry. It's different than getting the actual emotion or feeling out physically. You know what I'm saying? You need to speak that shit. It has to, like, the beauty of the empty chair is like it's real life. Like you saying this. Yeah. You're doing this. Whatever you wanted to do, whatever you wanted to say. If you wanted to fight back, fight back. You wanted to curse them out, curse them out. It's different from writing them down. How you wished you would have expressed it in the moment is how you expressed it in that moment. When I was getting spit on, I wouldn't have said, you know what, bitch, let me write. Yeah. No, like when I was getting spit on, I wanted to say, you fucking, and curse them out and fight back. So that's what you do in that moment of the empty chair. Whatever you would do in that moment, you do it right there. But writing stuff down, the burning ceremony is good too. Okay. But that's just like spiritual, the spiritual side. Okay. That could be like a final part, do a burning ceremony.
Okay.
Yeah.
Girl, you gave me a lot of stuff to think about tonight.
We've been on for a minute now.
Yeah. So I guess this concludes our night.
Okay.
This has been another dope episode of the Love Circle. Thank you again, Mariah, for your wisdom.
No problem. I'm so grateful. Thank you for having me. Hands down, this is one of my favorite things to do during a week. So don't stop.
Don't
stop.
No. So originally, when it wasn't supposed to be the Love Circle, when I first started BU, it was Safe House, and it was supposed to be us having events. Like the first event was November 10th, 2018. And we were at Forsyth Park, and it was just supposed to be a small, intimate event where we got together and talked about mental health and just us talking, a whole bunch of people talking. And then I had to put a pause on it, and then I was like, what is another way for me to still do that same thing, but on a larger platform? Okay. And that's when I decided to do it as a podcast. So this is permanent. We in here.
Yes, we out here. I'm ready.
That's it.
Okay.
It's all about healing. That's it.
That's dope. And so will you still do the meetings in Forsyth once in a while, once in a blue?
So the thing about that is I need help with coming up with the stuff, because I have the ideas. I just don't know how to facilitate
how to make it happen. Okay.
So if I could get some people to help me, then definitely. But for me to be doing everything by myself, the podcast is the easiest thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll definitely collaborate on some things and get some stuff going. Because when I come to Savannah, we always do the Sister Circle meetup. Yeah. But and then Annie is in Savannah, and Annie does she does her own meetings, Sacred Circle meetings and stuff like that. So I think for all three of us to get together and just to bring sisters together, that'll be dope.
To next week's episode. Well, that's the finale, but invite her.
Okay, Annie. Mm-hmm. All right, I'll definitely invite her. She'll do it.
Yeah.
Do it. Okay, and then she probably have, she has her podcast too, Sacred Connections. So she'll probably have you on her podcast too. Absolutely. Okay.
A whole.
I'm excited. I love the connection. Yes. And that just speaks to the power of a healing tribe. You know what I'm saying? Because everybody comes together and just does what they do, and then the tribe just grows. Hell no.
It's all love. It's all love, and it's all healing.
Absolutely.
That's good. Well, I hope you have an awesome night.
Okay.
Be love, be light, be positivity, be positive. However you want.
You know,
I
something
hope
like
y'all
that.
have a great night.
Much love, sis. Much
Yes.
love.
Love y'all.
Peace.